Wish I had you all alone, just the two of us. I would hold you close to me. You guys, it's Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and we have done it. We have made it to the end of the Halloween Revisited series of all the movies in the Halloween franchise. We have saved the best for last, or at least I think most would say the best for last. And that is Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978, the immortal classic, the granddaddy, the king of kings, the one to rule them all. Yes, we're going to be doing this one a little bit differently, guys, because throughout life, there are a few movies that are just perfect. And in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion, that we just look at and we say, man, I mean, this movie is so good. You don't nitpick some minor things about a movie. Sometimes those little nitpicks and minor mistakes or, missteps add to the charm and add to why we love the movie so much. So rather than giving you guys a plot of a movie that's almost 45 years old, I mean, everybody knows the plot of this movie. Little kid, 6 years old, kills his sister for no reason, gets incarcerated for 15 years, breaks out the day before Halloween, comes back to his hometown to stalk babysitters for no apparent reason. That is the entire plot of Halloween 1978. You can add in, the babysitters we follow are this person and that person, and then his doctor is, came to the town as well to look for him. We could talk about that all day. You guys know the plot of Halloween. Everybody does. It's in pop culture. Just everybody knows it. And I'm not going to talk about pros and cons because to me, there are no cons. So I guess for this revisit, it's just going to be, let's just highlight some of the things I love about this movie and why I feel like this movie is just, I don't know, it just lasts forever and it's timeless and it is as good as it is. So without further ado, let's just give an all-out love fest for Halloween 1978. So there are a long list of things that Halloween 1978 does well. A long list. And quite frankly, I think that I could spend an hour and a half talking about the hour and a half movie and all of it just be good. But first and foremost, I just want to talk about the idea, the masked, mindless, motiveless killer. He doesn't speak. He doesn't emote like at all. He just comes home and decides to stalk a group of teenagers and kill them for no reason. It makes it scary because, and I think this is why it resonated so well, especially in the late 70s when it came out, everybody was babysitting. My mom was a teenager when this movie came out. She saw it in theaters. She was a babysitter. And she gave me kind of insight into what this movie did to the psyche of a babysitter. It made you you're fearful of this could happen to anybody. This guy could just decide to stalk any babysitter and kill any babysitter for no reason. This is just a guy. I mean, that could happen any day, any time, anywhere, any place. It was effective. It really just I felt like it was entrenched forever in American history because of its simple premise. It was something that's never going to go away. People are always going to be babysat, and there are always going to be babysitters. And there's always going to be crazy people that do things for no good reason. So, again, the premise is just genius. The casting all around. For a movie with such a tight budget, which they gave a big portion of that budget to Donald Pleasance to play Dr. Loomis, and I'm so grateful that they did. And I'm so thankful that they got somebody like Donald Pleasance to be in this movie and to play this role because he sells it amazingly. And I just feel like you get a sense of the way he acts. This character is brilliant because you get a sense that he does care about Michael and he doesn't want to see this happen. But he also just knows this guy is pure evil. And at this point, there's no rehabilitating him. There's no saving him. And it's kind of heartbreaking and tragic, and it's just great. And Donald delivers an amazing performance. Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, now arguably the biggest scream queen of our lifetimes now. this is where she started. This is where she cut her teeth. I mean, Nick Castle, who went on to direct a few films and act in bit parts and stuff, he's fantastic as the Shape. I mean, every person that plays Michael Myers or the Shape looks up to Nick Castle as that is the blueprint. That is the guy you want to emulate. And I mean, he just gives this presence that is so ghostly and so inhuman while being a human. And it's just, it's magnificent. I mean, and I guess that should just lead right into the next segment of Michael Myers, the character, the Shape. He truly does feel like an unstoppable force in a man's body that you know is human, but multiple times throughout this movie you're questioning, is he human though? Because I don't think a human could do that, or I don't think a human would do that. It is brilliant. I mean, it's thought-provoking. It really makes you think. As far as other casting choices, I mean, you've got to give it up for people like PJ Souls as Linda. Totally. I mean, come on. She's magnificent. Nancy Loomis as Annie Brackett. She's great. Charles Cyphers as Sheriff Brackett. The cast all around, I think, just did a great job. And it's very limited. It's very small. I even love the portrayals from Brian Andrews as Tommy Doyle and Kyle Richards as Lindsay Wallace. I thought they did really well for kid actors, especially Kyle Andrews. And it's great to see her back. So that's great. The fact that John Carpenter was able to craft such a suspenseful, effective story and mood and atmosphere with such a small budget and just location limitations, you name it. This movie was centered around suburban America, small town America, where everything's great, nothing bad happens, and it was just confined to this one street, really, for 90% of the movie, and he just makes suburban America scary. And that is brilliant. That is a director that knows how to craft scares and suspense, and John nails it. He knocks it out of the park here. But I've got to give a ton of credit to Dean Cundey, the cinematographer. Dean Cundey is brilliant. I mean, I've seen so many Dean Cundey movies, and you guys as horror fans, you have too, even if you don't know that you have. I mean, Dean Cundey has done so much, but he shines in this movie. Whether it is the blue lighting at night that is just so eerie and ghostly, whether it's, the shot of Michael's face illuminating, whether it's the long tracking shots, whether it's just the still camera that is a wide shot of a very desolate, isolated place, but especially at night. Man, the camera work is absolutely magnificent in this movie. Dean Cundey, if you get Dean Cundey as your, director of photography, 99% chance you're going to walk away from a movie, even if it's total shit, going, that movie looked great. Wow, that was masterfully, filmed. Because that's just Dean Cundey. The score. John Carpenter has to last minute come up with some themes for this movie because they don't have the money to hire someone to compose a score. So John's like, what can I do? And he comes up with the simple 5/4 time, just that he had learned on bongos years ago, and puts it on a piano, and it just works amazingly. And it has become iconic in just American history now. Everybody knows. My 2-year-old son hears that song and goes, that's Michael Myers' song. Everybody knows this song. You hear it, and even if you don't know what movie it's from, you're like, oh, that's from that horror movie. Yeah, the guy with the white mask. Everybody knows this music, and that is just, I think, speaks volumes to John Carpenter as just a creator, as just an engineer of things. Whether it's film and music and script, the dude is just awesome at all of it. And I don't have any complaints there. Halloween did what so many movies decades later still fail to do. It crafted a very briskly paced, not overly long movie and story that kept you invested without leaning too hard into the gratuitous, over-the-top nature. Don't get me wrong. There's some movies like that I love. But what this movie does is it is all about less is more. You don't see a lot of blood. You don't get a lot of on-screen kills. You're not lingering too long on these things. But it still has such an impact when it happens. because it plays with the mind. It plays with your expectations and my expectations. It makes you think you know what's coming, when in reality, you didn't really know what was coming. Your brain will go to like 1,500 wild places, and then it ends up just being the most simple of all of them. And it's just like, oh, wow, well, I guess that makes sense. It's just, I think that doing something like that cannot be understated of how impressive that is. I think that the simplistic less is more approach with this movie worked so well. This movie has themes and motifs and metaphors about small town America. You could argue about promiscuity. Everybody talks about the girls that have sex and the guys that have sex, they die. That do drugs, that drink, they die. There's so many underlying messages and metaphors in this movie, when in reality, I don't think they really thought that heavy into it. I think it was more of just a straightforward, let's make a spooky teen stalker movie and center it around a holiday so it's more, easily identifiable. And it worked. It worked. I think that a lot of the brilliance of this movie probably just happened by happenstance because there was such a fantastic team behind it. John and Deborah's script is amazing. Dean Cundy's cinematography is amazing. John's direction is amazing. The acting is amazing. I could go on and on. I guess at the end of the day, there's no better way to end this review revisited series than to just give you what Halloween 1978 was. A more briskly paced video that gets to the point, that just is, it's a love fest. It is a love fest. It's what this video is. I could go on forever about it. But honestly, at the end of the day, this movie meant so much to me as a horror fan and as a fan of film in general. I don't know where I would be without Halloween. I don't know if I'd even be here, to be honest with you. This movie and these movies in this franchise got me through so much, so many dark times. And I am forever grateful to everybody that put this together, because I think that Halloween is just a landmark. It's a cinematic masterpiece. It's an achievement like no other. Michael is the king. He reigns the king still to this day. And that's not to disparage any others. It's just to say that Michael did it first and did it best. And Michael's still doing it at a high level, and it's just great to see, because I don't know where I'd be without these movies and without this franchise. And so, in summation, I guess I should just say, John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween is easily my favorite horror film of all time, my favorite film of all time. One of, if not the greatest, objectively, horror films of all time. Easily the most influential horror film to come out of this era. And just a true landmark masterpiece that needs no endorsement from me. John Carpenter's Halloween, it gets 5 out of 5 stars. It gets the highest praise. This movie cannot be touched by any other horror film, in my opinion. I will love this movie till the day I die, and hopefully even after that. This movie will live on from generation to generation, and I couldn't ask for a better fate for such a great movie. So thank you guys so much for revisiting this series with me. Thank you guys for listening to me go deep and ramble about these movies. Thank you for just being the supporters that you are. This is a long franchise. You guys watched every single one. You guys rock. I mean, you do. I've had so much fun doing this. And I guess I'm just going to end this pretty simply. I'm going to switch it up from what I normally do. To take from the words of the Godzilla films, long live the king.